AskReddit by Potato Stealer. What is a telltale sign that someone is a selfish person? When anything that happens to them is the worst thing in the world and whatever happens to you is not that bad and a waste of time talking about or dealing with. I know your mom died a month ago, but my best friend of 3 years died too, so I don't see why you are so sad all of the time. I think narcissism and selfishness go hand in hand, so there you go. Friend of mine was talking to a mutual ex-friend about how she was feeling shit because it was coming up to the anniversary of her sister's murder. The ex-friend responded that she was also feeling shitty and needed support because her boyfriend, who had been visiting for the weekend, had gone home. We both cut her off after that. I love these threads. I always use them as a way to measure whether I'm doing those things or not and fix them if I am. Made it about yourself, haven't you? Heh. They feel no remorse for how they've hurt others. Let's not forget how they make you apologize for how you made them feel when you want to talk about things they did to you. Doesn't think they are wrong in the slightest bit. They can't shoulder any bit of responsibility. I'll add to this though, it doesn't have to be overtly blamey on you. It can manifest as a sense of aloofness or unawareness. It can feel like they are just constantly unaware of their role in things, and then will refuse to acknowledge any role in things. They may also flip it back on you if you show them some of their responsibility and say you're making them feel bad. They don't remember the times people helped them, but remember clearly all the times they have helped others. Deleted. They bring nothing to the potluck but are first in line. They brought Tupperware containers to the potluck to bring home. Deleted. Just to add this, they keep their space quite clean, but anything common is where they litter. They respond how worse their situation is when you're sharing your problems with them. No try for help or listening, just trying to draw attention on their side. The complainers. I have a friend that is like that, and lately I have just been letting her talk, with dry responses such as "oh wow, tough luck, yeah you told me all of that via text," and I would talk only if she would ask me a question. Well, the hangout got silent super fast. And it seems she is no longer satisfied sharing the details of her life with me. Novik. If you are in a group and there is one person that is constantly interrupting the middle of what you or anyone else is saying, generally to brag about themselves with a one-upper story, is generally a precursor to stop associating with them. I've met too many of them in my days, and they are more often than not happy to throw you under the bus whenever the opportunity arises. The Elevenerife type. You say you've been in Tenerife and they say that's cool, but they visited Elevenerife. If they always talk about themselves. I know many people that will just not shut up about their day an entire call, then just leave when you start talking about yours. When every single bad thing that happens to another person gets spun around into their personal problem, I'm really upset because my family member is going through X. And that friend is too busy to care for my needs. Can you believe they didn't text me back immediately? They have that superpower to lead everything back to themselves. Even when you're actually talking about your own life or a specific problem of yours, they somehow make it that you start talking about them instead without even changing the topic. Nearly everyone does this to a point. There's an extremely fine line between trying to comfort someone by saying something like, "I recently went through something with my father as well. I'm so sorry," and making their issue about yourself. It's crazy how common it is, and I'd guess if you are sharing something tragic to a group of people, at least one will try to make it into a competition and one-up you. If they refuse to take responsibility for their actions. Similarly, someone who never apologizes. It takes a little longer to figure this out, but if after a few dozen hours of interactions you've never heard "I'm sorry," you probably never will. I waited for 1/2 years once. Never again. Complaining at work to co-workers doing your work for you while you complain. Honestly, complaining about co-workers is pretty much part of my job. We just call it peer reviews. They want to dig up your dead dog to use the skull for taxidermy purposes and is insistent on doing it despite your objections. Are oddly specific. They never admit when they are wrong even if there is physical evidence. Well, I'm sorry that you have a problem with me. Maybe you should stop being so sensitive. Why are you making that face? I literally just apologized to you. Conversations don't feel like conversations. They are one-sided talks about what they want, their thoughts, their life, their priorities, etc. When you are able to slip a word in, your words are used as transitions in their dialogue. No matter how you format your words, they all just add to the plot of their story. What you say and what you do are pawns in their game to be manipulated in a way that belittles your experiences, actions, opinions, and choices. I see you've met my manager. They are surprised and disgruntled when you accept what they've offered. Example, I used to be friends with someone who loved to offer stuff. I have some cute maternity clothes that would fit you. I can lend them to you if you want. I can help you rearrange your classroom. I'll come in early tomorrow. I made such a great apple pie. I can bring you a piece. These aren't things that anyone solicited. She offered them up. Yet she 100% expects that everyone will politely decline her offers. I'm a yes person. Anything you offer to me, I will happily accept. The look on her face when I would resent, that won't be great, thanks, was always priceless. She never followed through with any of it, but she never stopped offering stuff. And I never stopped accepting. It was kind of hilarious. I'd be like, where's my apple pie? You said you were bringing pie, where is it? When they always play the victim card, 99% of the time they only place themselves in the victim seat by ignoring all the effort or cost other people have to endure and only focus on what they go through themselves. Cliche answer, but I have found the return the shopping cart test to be pretty accurate. It is such a small thing, but it does tell you if a person thinks small things like that matter. This is my favorite armchair measure of good person. There is absolutely no benefit to you as the trolley returner, but there is loss to others if you don't. There's also no immediate human association like with how you treat a server or retail employee. Just raw, are you thinking about the other guy? They're rude to waitstaff or just staff and employees in general. Or if their situational awareness is severely lacking and they don't seem to have a problem with it. Waitstaff typically can't bite back when someone's being an asshole. Seeing how someone behaves when there's almost zero possibility of them being held accountable for said behavior is a pretty good window into their psyche. For me, it's people who listen to loud TikTok in public. Especially in relatively silent places. There is a guy that hangs out in my favorite bar. Doesn't talk much and stays to himself. But he sits for hours watching videos on his phone with the volume on. It's the most obnoxious thing ever. Bartenders finally told him to turn the volume off or stop watching. He was 100% oblivious to the fact that no one else in the place wanted to hear that shit. My ex was insanely selfish. Her dad gave her a $20k a month allowance plus paid for her mortgage on a penthouse in Nig while she went to Yale. He paid her car plus insurance. She had zero need for cash. All bills are paid. He also gave her a credit card with, I'm assuming, no limit. Cause we bought a car on a whim once. But I saw her steal $3 from a friend who was passed out. She'd steal panties from Walmart. She had a pile of cash in her bedroom. We once needed to pay for a delivery, IDK if it was bagels or pizza, but she refused to touch the pile of cash. I had to walk to my car to get cash. And when I tipped her $10 for waiting, my ex went ballistic. Calling me a bitch, a moron and queer. Cause why would you give a random porky bitch $10 for $5 worth of food? We went to a celeb wedding. She found a way to take 4 gift baskets as opposed to the 2 we were supposed to get. Every guest got one. She also stole a $500 gift card to Victoria's Secret from the wedding. She's wicked greedy. How the fuck is she spending $5k a week? One of my workmates had her drink taken from the fridge by someone else. When she put up a sign on the fridge to remind people not to take things, another guy asked her why she was doing it. She explained her drink was taken, and without skipping a beat he said, "Oh yeah, that's because someone took mine." So not only willing admitting to doing JT, but his justification was that someone did it to him. So yeah, I'd say that. This is what people call paying your dues. Other people treated me poorly, so I need to perpetuate that to somehow justify it being done to me. If you don't have the same hardship, then somehow it's not fair. It is embedded into so many aspects of society and has got to be some form of evil. Trauma dumping and then not reciprocating if someone else had a bad day, felt comfortable enough to open up to them. They only message you when they need a favor. When they are unable to see beyond their own needs and feelings, and aren't capable of recognizing when they are impacting the people around them in negative ways. Another sign of a selfish person is when they're driven only by their own self-interests, and don't care about how their actions might affect others. They throw other people under the bus so fast you'll get whiplash if you stand too close. Whether to save themselves or to humiliate the competition. No self-accounting at all. People who have kids on purpose, and then act like their kids owe them, well above and beyond basic kindness and human respect, for the rest of their lives. When they go out clubbing or something, and bring their friends back home to continue the party at 2 AM. However, he lives in a house share and his roommates have to go to work in the morning. Ever since I told him to break up the party and that it isn't appropriate, especially since he didn't mention to anyone that he decided to have a 2 AM Wednesday night party. He complied, but ever since then he's been unpleasant and unfriendly with me. Cunt. When you have a conversation about something in your life, finish what you have to say, then the other person says nothing about that and completely changes the subject. The way you worded this makes it sound hilarious, but I can imagine it being awful. You think that's bad? They treat problems and other topics of conversation like a competition. I'm just telling it like it is. They state their opinions like they are indisputable facts that others must agree with. That's just how I am. Their behavioral flaws are forces of nature that can't be changed, regardless of how others are affected. No offense, but their validation is so important. They will say whatever they want, and they feel entitled to choose how others feel about it. When they think everything is a competition. I had a girl pull my sleeve up once and saw mild cuts, then blurted out, "I have way more than you." Now BC, that's crazy. Poor listener. So anyway. How do they treat customer service people? Do they litter? At drink stations, do they leave it trashed? Selfish people can't recognize their mistakes. They are never the problem. The more they ask in a relationship, the more you're having to give. That is, I think of relationships like a bridge generally. You should build from both sides, and in crisis you make up the difference. But a relationship is primarily meeting each other in the middle. Selfish or self-centered people pretend to build a relationship, but ask you to build the relational bridge all the way towards them. Ultimately, they expect you to build the relationship entirely towards them, and you're left giving more than receiving. Constant victim mentality. Like no matter what, they are always suffering and suffering worse than you. This makes it impossible to confide in them, and they will never actually see who you are or what you need. When they monologue at you. Every conversation is just them performing and everyone else is just part of the audience. Combative comparisons. This is what I call it when someone always has a response to what you are talking about that somehow always seems to one-up you. It doesn't matter what you are talking about. Somehow, they always have a better or worse story that puts yours aside. It's intended to invalidate what you are speaking about and remove the attention from you onto them. Pay close attention to people who practice this malicious style of conversation. You will be glad you made note of it, as usually this is not only selfish, but very narcissistic in nature. I feel like I do this sometimes because I don't know how else to answer. It's stupid. I want to stop, but I can either do that or be quiet because I can't find a response other than a low effort whoa or that sucks. I don't want to draw attention to myself, I just don't know what else to do. If someone tells me their problem, I just think about it and that's it. I can't really word the response. No thank you or compliments. My cousin, when I cook food, she won't just say normal shit like thank you for the food, it's really good. Instead she says, is it bad? I actually like this food. Is it bad? I am craving that pasta you made. Could this be indicative of a deeper issue? I've known a few people with somewhat disordered eating habits who won't indulge without berating themselves over it first. For example, I shouldn't have this cake, but I guess I'll be bad today. Even though that's annoying and sometimes rude in itself, I recognize that it's rooted in their own distress regarding food. Creating or opening Reddit threads on selfishness to find out if it's really them that's the problem or if Marissa's actually totally full of shit. I can't believe you, Marissa. Fuck Marissa. A visible exoskeleton. Edit. Oh, selfish. Crab people. The way they treat random people vs the way they treat people they want something from. People who always talk about money or the grind. Usually they will sell you out in a heartbeat or take advantage of others for money, which is pretty selfish. When there is drama, they make it about themselves. When you're venting to them about a valid, personal issue thing you struggle with that has nothing to do with them, and they get mad at you because they've made it all about them and they think you're passive aggressively critiquing them. Pay attention to how much they interrupt you, or you'll say something that's pretty important and they'll go okay and then talk about something else. This isn't always a sign of selfishness, it could be ADHD, habit they don't know they're doing, or they just don't gel with you. Legit, they often say it straight up. Like it's self-care. When they don't acknowledge any positive thing you do for them and obsess over the few times you don't go out of your way to cater to their fragile fucking ego.